And welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, unlike tonight, and mostly metal music. Wow. 500 times and I managed to mess that up. Anyway, welcome to my Rambo Festival, where we are going to discuss one of my top 5 franchises outside of horror ever, and that is the Rambo franchise. And we are going to kick it off with First Blood, 1982, directed by Ted Kotcheff, written by David Morrell, starring Sylvester Stallone, Brian Dennehy, and the magnificent Richard Crenna. Yes, it is. Where's my screensaver? So, we are going to talk about Rambo. This is the newest release. I know there's one out with the 4 movies. This is the newest Rambo box set. This is the Blu-ray box set of all 5 Rambo films, which we will be going through. Sylvester Stallone, Rambo 5 film collection. Yes, digital code, so they're all on my Vudu as well. I did watch the first 3 night before last and scripted them, which, as I've said, you hear me complain constantly during the winter. Heaters on, heaters off, it's cold, it's hot. My sinuses love it, and I can barely fucking see. But we're going to try to get through it anyway, because I'm tired of waiting. I really am. So, we are introduced to the fabulous, the wonderful, the magnificent John J. Rambo, as he enters into this mountain town near, a mountain town near a small. He is a Vietnam vet, former Green Beret. He is there looking for one of his, which we find out later was just one of his few remaining squad mates from his unit. He is been back for a while. Quite a while, and is obviously not done well. So he's there looking for Del Mar. He does manage to find the family, only to discover that he's not there. They then inform him that he is dead and died a horrible death because of that orange stuff that got him, which REM sang about and we know as Orange Crush, aka Agent Orange. So he died of the Orange Crush. And yeah, so he's very sad. He gives her the picture, which he had used to prove who he was, and that he did know Del Mar. And then he left very sad. He did give her the picture, which was sweet of him. And he then enters a little town called Hope, where we are introduced to the supreme asshole, Brian Dennehy, aka Sheriff Teasel. Perfect name too. Weasel Teasel, we will call him from now on. So, he don't like the look of Rambo with his long hair and his hippie, punky, Vietnam looking outfit. And is not too afraid to tell him so. And that he offers to give him a ride to the end of town, which, of course, just to make sure he don't stick around, which he manages. I think if it had just kept his fucking bigot mouth shut, he wouldn't have ended up in this shit. But of course, the entire ride, he's got to, make fun of him, aggravate him, taunt him. We don't like your kind around here. It's a nice, quiet place. I think Tina Turner sang about a place like that called Nutbush, Tennessee. You know, you gotta watch what you put down. So, by the time he gets to the bridge, he has thoroughly pissed Rambo off with his passive-aggressive insults. And Rambo gets out of the car. You know, all he wanted was something to eat. But okay, he's going to move on. But you know what? And I'm just that kind as well. He just couldn't let it go. And I admit, I couldn't have let it go either. You know? I'd have got my skate punk metal head ass right back out of that car and walked right back to town, just like he started doing. So he started walking back to town, and the sheriff was just like, what? Now, this is, of course, after he gave him the kind advice of getting a haircut. You know, getting a haircut and clean yourself up a little bit. You wouldn't be running into this kind of problem. Yeah, like I've never heard that before. So, things don't go well. He puts him in the car. He arrests him. They process him. He starts having flashbacks. He's bullied, stripped. Little Rambo butt there. He's bullied, stripped, beaten. And there's only one cop, Mitch. Now, Mitch is that... David Caruso. Yeah. What cop show was he on? I know that the cop show that he was on, NYPD Blue or something like that. It was the cop show that caused the national controversy. You know, there was 2 national controversies. Now, I have to remember, I lived half my life on, 6 months there, 6 months back in Blackpool, England. So, you do know that, like, in England, it's so funny to me, anyone that's not from America, it's so funny to me because, like, for the longest time, you know that there is full nudity on prime time television in England. Now, they're not going to show anything pornographic, but you see butts and stuff like that all over, Shameless, Skins, some of the most popular British shows. There's lots of nudity in it. It's not sexual per se, but they do allow just plain old nudity. And there's lots of it on British TV. So David Caruso, who plays Mitch, Deputy Mitch in this show, he was on that cop show where they did the first broadcast TV nudity, which is they showed his butt in the locker room, his shiny, pale, porcelain Irish ass in that CSI, no, NYPD Blue, whatever that was that he was on, David Caruso. Caused a national controversy. Nothing like it seen until Janet Jackson's boob fell out at the football game. So you can imagine people like me who are used to seeing just plain, nudity on just primetime TV, seeing a national outcry over David Caruso's ass and Janet Jackson's boob. It's fucking embarrassing. Sometimes being an American is just embarrassing. They saw Janet Jackson's tit and they lost their fucking minds. They saw David Caruso's lily white ass and they lost their minds. It's just ridiculous. And Sheriff Teasel is just that kind. So after they beat and maul and humiliate him, he decides he's had enough and he kicks the living shit out of them, which was very satisfying. They did make very satisfying thumps when they hit the floor. He managed to get away and he takes off into the mountain after beating their asses. They, of course, come after him. He starts attempting, because he's got nothing on but a muscle shirt, an old man t-shirt. And he didn't even have his pretty little green jacket with him. So he starts immediately trying to use his survival techniques and training from, Vietnam and from the military to get himself squared away, to get away from these people. And, of course, Teasel isn't having it. And he comes after him, and Mitch and all of them get up there and they bring out the dogs, that old man with his Dobermans. They bring that and they're trying to chase him. Now, he gets in a pickle when he gets on that cliff. because, I mean, you ain't jumping from that cliff. So he starts trying to scale the cliff, trying to get away from these people. And that super asshole, it's like each one of those deputies was a different level of asshole. You had Teasel at the top, and right by him was that other guy, Galt. Now, Galt and Teasel were the two worst. Mitch was the lowest, because he didn't really like what they were doing to Rambo. He was the only one that tried to stop it and try to, interfere, which of course had all the other cops. Just like today, any good cop is going to be attacked by the majority, which is the bad cops, when they try to interject. So it was, even back in 1982, this was sort of obviously a known fact. So Mitch was attacked and pushed around because of him not liking what they were doing to Rambo, and forced to participate, and they go along. Well, when he got on that cliff, that fucking Galt guy made that helicopter guy come after him, and in the chopper, he tried to shoot him dead. And what did Rambo do? I think he threw a rock. Yeah, he threw a rock and busted the window of the chopper, and it caused that Galt guy to fall to his death, a very well-deserved death, in my opinion. Now, even after this happened, Rambo got his gun and all of that, and he tried to make peace with them, because Teasel and the bunch were up there at the top of the cliff. He came out and tried to, give himself, let's just end this, nobody else needs to get hurt, but of course that's just pure stupid, because Teasel isn't going to go for that shit. So, no go, they shoot at him, and the game is on again. So, he starts, they call that old man with the Dobermans. They come and they're trying to track him. Now, this is when we have, he sort of instigates his perfect military strategy. Now, this military strategy is called make burdens, not bodies. Now, the military strategy behind making burdens and not bodies is when you don't kill the enemy. You got a squad of people coming after you. Killing them is fine, but you're leaving each individual with their full power. Using the military strategy, which is like a guerrilla tactic, using the guerrilla tactic of making burdens, not bodies, is when you seriously injure a squad member. This causes his buddies, who aren't going to leave him behind, to be distracted, to be demoralized, to use resources, and to slow them down. So he starts doing that. He stabs poor Mitch in the back of the thigh. He ain't gonna walk. He knows where to stab him. He gets one of them, stabs him up good. He gets that other one with that spike trap, that stabs him. But none of them are fatal. None of these are fatal wounds, because he is instituting that guerrilla tactic known as make burdens, not bodies. So he's turning them into burdens for the other squad members, as opposed to just bodies, which is only going to enrage their friends. Welcome to Mission Impossible Tactics lesson for today. Guerrilla Fighter 101. We're going to discuss military tactics now. But, so he's engaging in the guerrilla tactic of making burdens, not bodies. And he manages to take pretty much every damn one of them out, except for Teasel, which he does get up against the tree and warns the fucker. You can always warn these people over and over, and that's how you know they're stupid, is because they just won't listen. I'm sure you've known people like that in real life, where you just go up to them and you just calmly say, not me. I understand you're a bully, whatever, you get away with it with everybody else. I'm not the one. I'm not the one. Please. Just, I'm not the one. And they don't believe you. And you end up having to fuck them up because they just don't believe you. I don't know. That's why you should never let bullies get away from anyone, because one day they're going to run across the wrong one and they're going to get hurt. You know? So, he's doing that. Teasel is all extremely upset. You know, Balford got spiked. I wrote them down, you know, making burdens, not bodies. Rambo tells Teasel to let it go or there's going to be war. Now, of course, the news has gotten a hold of it, you know, because there's a dead copper. So you've got that fucking Galt asshole. He's dead. So the news has gotten a hold of it. And, of course, the state police has been called in. And that's when the papers were out of order. So the local law, you know, the state police have been called in. The local law, you know, tells the state police what has went on. And all of a sudden, we have Colonel Troutman shows up, the wonderful Richard Crenna. Now, he shows up and he starts talking that really tough talk, you know, about like, you don't know the fish you caught. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things, I think the best thing I like that he says is, God didn't make Rambo, I did. That's who I am. You know, because, you know, Teasel's like, who the fuck are you? You know, and he's like, God didn't make Rambo. Because what did Teasel say? He said something like, how would God make a man like this? And that's when Colonel Troutman, you know, was like, God didn't make Rambo, I did. That's, you know, and I've come to get hit, you know, I've come to get my boy. You're a badass. If Rambo is your boy, you're a badass. That's all I got to say. So he's like, oh, you've come to rescue your boy, you know, huh? And he goes, no, I didn't come to rescue my boy. I came to rescue you from my boy. It's like, yeah, there you go. So he sets up a base in a mine. We have all of those scenes. Trout tells Teasel to let him go and try to get Rambo back. He's the only one, you know, that could put a stop to this. Of course, he refuses. Rambo had gotten not only Galt's gun, but has gotten his radio. So, of course, he's listening to all of their talk. Trout ends up getting the idea, or Troutman. So he gets the idea, the colonel, there you go, let's do that. The colonel gets the idea to contact him on the radio because they inform him that Rambo obviously has Galt's radio. So he does that, and, you know, he almost convinces him to give it up, but, you know, he doesn't really get the chance because they have called in that dipshit National Guard Reserve. Now, Teasel wants Rambo bad. So he had told those idiot weekend warriors, those, you know, National Guard reservists, to just watch the damn mine entrance, not to do anything. But of course, they're scared shitless, and that idiot gets them to bazooka the thing and blows it down, and they all think that Rambo's dead. Teasel is very pissed off because he wanted to do it, you know. Now, back when they were on the radio, you know, Rambo had told the colonel that he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything wrong. He just wanted something to eat, which is the truth. And that they drew first blood, where we get the name of this movie from, is from that line. Because he says, you know, that the war is on because they drew first blood. He didn't do anything. Which is all true. So, they all think he's dead. And I think, you see the colonel give this little look on his face, and you can tell that the colonel, it was very, very subtle, but you could tell that the colonel, when he was looking at the mine entrance, was like, my boy is still right in there. I know it. My boy, this ain't taking my boy out. And you could tell that he kind of felt that way. So they all are like thinking the party's over. And we have that like rat scene where Rambo is in there like trying to find a way out of the caves. That rat scene was pretty reminiscent of The Descent. The horror movie The Descent is kind of, that was like the atmosphere I felt like during those scenes where he was then attacked by the rats. He did manage to get away, find a way out. He hijacked the last truck. A military convoy was going by, and he jumped on the last truck and got that guy out, which was funny. And if you think about it, what's interesting is up to this point, the only person that's died in this movie has been that asshole Deputy Galt. So there hasn't been a lot of, Rambo is still the good guy. Well, he's always the good guy. But a lot of people at this point in the movie just think that it's all been blood and guts and murder, and there isn't anybody been hurt. Well, I mean, of course they've been hurt, but you know what I'm saying. There hasn't anyone been killed in this movie. Even that guy he just threw out of the truck. So, especially when he finds out what's in it, all these munitions. So he goes into town because this war is serious, So he goes into town, he runs over a gas station pumps, he runs over the petrol pumps, he causes these gigantic explosions as a distraction to get, because he's going after his man. I would have too. Teasel would have been mine. You know what I mean? It's like the party's not over till that fucker is gone. It would be my take on the situation. So we have a lot of cool scenes where he gets the power out, causes all of this mayhem and lots of Michael Bay boom boom type stuff. And he does get a fix on where Teasel's at. I like it when he blows up that munition store because that causes a lot of distraction and noise. He does manage to find out where the sheriff is, who is like taken eagle's roost on the top of the sheriff's department. He manages to go in there and he ends up shooting Teasel through the roof, and causing Teasel to fall through the skylight. Richard Crenna comes in, and right before he kills his ass, which was unfortunate in my opinion, and then Rambo gives this absolute phenomenal speech about betrayal and outsiders and Vietnam vets. Because, it was about Vietnam vets because that's what he is. But his monologue was about outsiders in general. And I think that's why he appealed. We'll talk about that. So he gives this absolutely phenomenal, heartbreaking monologue. People who say Sylvester Stallone can't act are just ridiculous because, the heartbreaking monologue that he gives about outsiders and the being betrayed and being used by the military and being used by the government and then left to die on the street, which is the absolute truth. And the betrayal of people, the mob rules kind of stuff, was absolutely heartbreaking. And it just keeps you glued to this, seat. And especially when he talked about the death of his friend, who was like, that will make you cry. Because when he was talking about him and how after he had gotten blown by that grenade, bomb of some kind, I think it was a grenade, but it had blew him. It might have been like a pipe bomb or something. But anyway, he was like blown into pieces, and the boy was like died in his arms while he was telling him, I want to go home, I want to go home. And he's freaking out and saying, okay, well, I can't find your legs though. And you're like, oh, wow. No way, man. Ooh, that's some PTSD shit right there, for sure. You're trying to comfort your friend. Yeah, help me up so we can go home. Well, yeah, but I can't find your legs. I mean, oh my God, really? So, he starts crying, and the colonel, and they have this like moment and embrace and hug, and he comforts him, and then they all walk out together, and he looks at the newscasters, and the movie ends, and that's a 10 out of 10 for absolute sure. Now, why does Rambo appeal to so many different people, different groups of people? Rambo is a hero for the outsider. Now, I've been a skate punk metalhead since I was 14. I was suspended twice from school. Not for violence, not for fighting, not for doing anything except looking the way that I look. I was suspended because I put blue streaks in my hair. The first time I was suspended because of the way I looked, because I dressed like a metalhead, a punk rocker. I was suspended from school the second time because, well, I wore combat, my outfit for that day was combat boots, combat boots and soccer socks. So it was combat boots, and I was wearing sewed up boxer shorts, because if you sew the fly up, they're shorts. So I was wearing shorts, boxer shorts, and I had a boy toy belt on and O-rings, and I looked like a male version of Madonna is what I looked like. And I got suspended for coming to school dressed like that. So I've always been like that, and always will be. So you will find such a cross-section of people that seem to have no connection whatsoever. You've got military fanatics, and you've got this kind of people and those kind of people, and drag queens, and punk rockers, and metalheads, and country rednecks, and they all love Rambo. And it's like, but they're such a diverse group, cultural groups of people. You have hippies who love Rambo, the same way that hippies loved, 110 Soldier, 110 Soldier rides away. Billy Jack. Okay? Billy Jack was like Rambo before Rambo, and I fucking love Billy Jack. And I love Buford T. Pusser, the original Buford T. Pusser. Get that clear. The original Buford T. Pusser. In Walking Tall. And you have Rambo, and these characters all share a similar thing, and that is they're outsiders. They're outsiders. They're outside the norm. And that's the reason why Rambo, really appeals to me. He is one of my favorite characters of all time. He is one of my heroes. I absolutely adore everything about Rambo, especially the original First Blood movie. Because each one of these movies is very different. And the original is a pure outsider. I mean, why was he picked on? Because he had long hair. Why was he picked on? Was because he was not was not a straight white suit and tie, credit in the straight world type person. He was Wendy O. Williams from the Plasmatics. He was the Runaways in the 70s, who, how dare girls play rock and roll. He was metalheads, punk rockers, skate punks. You know, he is the embodiment of an outsider that is harassed and bullied and treated like shit by mainstream normal people. And that's what always has made me so sick, is because y'all are the ones that's always got the bodies in the backyard. Y'all are the ones who are pervs. Y'all are the ones who are doing most of the crime. You know, ain't no punk rocker going to be a criminal, because you're going to be remembered everywhere you go. It's like, can you see a fucking punk rocker with a mohawk going down a suburban street and he's out there committing crime? Everybody's going to remember him. Way to stealth it, baby. You know, the one who's committing the crime is that dude who looks like the cashier at the junior store, or a bank teller, you know, or a preacher. They're the ones that's got full bodies in the backyard, you know. So, yeah. I love Rambo. And I think that's the reason Rambo appeals to so many, such a cross section of people, is because he is the epitome of an outsider, just like Buford T. Pusser, just like Billy Jack, you know, just like Sid Vicious, you know. I mean, Rambo is all of those rolled up into one. And you see a person abused and bullied and mistreated and pushed to the limit, and he has to do something about it. And that's why Rambo is a 10 out of 10. That's why Rambo is, like I said, the Rambo franchise. And I've said it before on my channel, I'm not a huge Stallone fan. I don't like, for instance, the Rocky franchise is one of my most hated. But it isn't because of Sylvester Stallone. I don't like sports films. I don't think in 2,600 movies, I don't think I own a sports film. I don't care nothing about that kind of stuff. There's no baseball film here like Field of Dreams or any of that shit. There's nothing like that here. You know, if you want to make a sports film for me, you need to make something about tennis. But tennis is too boring to make a film about. I think there's a couple. I think Ryan gave me a suggestion about a tennis movie and rugby and real football, which is called soccer. Y'all call it soccer. But if you make some movies centered around those sports, I would like them. But so I can't stand Rocky. I absolutely despise those movies. Yet Rambo franchise is one of my top 5 franchises of all time. So it's not about Sylvester Stallone. I love Cobra. I love ICU. I love Copland. I like the Escape Plan movies. I like the Expendables. Well, the first 3 anyway. So, you know, it's not about Sylvester Stallone. But I think he is absolutely phenomenal in these movies, and Rambo is it. And that was First Blood from 1982. We will move on to the next one next. Love you, miss you, bye. Always remember, never forget, you're a very, very special person, like Rambo. Be an outsider. Be different. Be unique. Be the only one of you, because you are the only one of you, so why not show it? Grow some hair. Shave that shit off your face. Don't follow fashion fads. Be yourself. Because you're the only one of you. Just like he's the only one of him. And you have to admit, fucking Sylvester Stallone does not look like Sylvester Stallone if he does not have Rambo hair. Okay? Rambo hair. That's it. Rambo hair. So, yeah. I'll see you in the next one. Love you, miss you, bye. And what do you think of Rambo? Do you like Rambo? I know, you probably like Rocky and all that too. Don't be offended. We all like different things. I can't stand Rocky, and I absolutely adore Rambo. It's just the way I am. It's okay. I'll see you in the next thing, the next one. Love you, miss you. Bye bye.